This is Tom Myers, Superintendent, Bellevue Community School District, coming you with another update on the Bellevue Elementary School referendum and some potential questions people may have. And one that I've heard lately is ownership of the school. This goes two ways: ownership of the current elementary building, if a new building would be built, and number two, ownership of the new building. So let's start with the new building. Ownership in the new building is ultimately in the community. The referendum and the funds raised from the referendum go completely to the new Bellevue Elementary School. It is not used for salaries. It is not used for improvements in other areas of the Bellevue School campus. It is used strictly for the development of the Bellevue Elementary School, being the new Bellevue Elementary School. So that's one thing. Two, what about the current elementary building? What's going to happen with that? Right now, we have two individual developers who have an expertise in historic restoration of older buildings. And since this building, and part of this building is 150 years old, they are extremely interested in restoring it and using it for community uses and gaining input from the community on what that could be used for. Some things that have been mentioned are a daycare center, a rec center, housing, whether that's regular housing or senior housing. Talk about community meeting rooms. We've talked about business and entrepreneurial spaces. We talked about office spaces, things like that. Ultimately, someone else will take ownership of that, but the school district will have some influence on that because we will request an RFP, or request for proposal, and within that we will say we want someone to develop this, but here are some things that we want to happen with it. You may see some things around town with a diagram of what it could look like on the outside, and it may look like that. It's likely not going to look exactly like that, just to be very honest with everyone. That is just a rendering of what it could be, looking at the potential for the future. But I do want to emphasize it does not fall back to the city to take ownership of it. The school will look to have someone else take ownership of it that way, and that is the plan. And there is extreme interest in that right now by two other historic restoration groups that have been interested ever since we started these discussions about 3 years ago in a serious manner. And they have both done restoration projects in other areas and have had great success with what they've done. So that gives you some information in that regard. If you need to contact the school or any other information that way, you can look at the website at www.bellevue.k12.ia.us or contact the school and talk to me at 563-872-4001, and that's extension 4. Have a great day.